is how I used to be when I was 20. Okay, sorry about that.
It's all right. Okay, you ready?
Yeah,
All
let's
right,
go.
stand by. And when you're ready.
Welcome to the Kbey 103.9 FM Homegrown Hour, sponsored by Lakeside Pond, with your host, Mel Highsmith. Today we have in studio Caleb Rojas. Caleb, thank you for joining us on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
That's excellent, that's excellent. So you know, Caleb, I guess everybody out there at Radio Land wants to know one thing about you. Where did your music journey begin?
I have to say that it began, I was very young, probably around the age of maybe 6, 7 years old. I mean, I really didn't begin. I think I was born with it, but I think I actually had been exposed to really great music when you know, just growing up with my parents having the same interest in the same music and also interest in different music. So there was a lot of versatility there, a lot of diversity. You know, my mother was playing everything from the Beatles to, you know, Gloria Estefan, you know, different genres from Puerto Rico, Spain, Cuba, even Mexico. Trio Los Panchos was a big influence on me as well. And my dad was playing like Motown, you know, and Steely Dan, you know, like Sly and the Family Stone, and you know, just an immense amount of different flavors and colors coming at me at a very young age. So, you know, one time, kind of funny story, in school, there was a talent show, and you know, I was really excited to see everybody be so excited about this talent show, you know, and I was really young and didn't even know what a talent show was, and I saw all the other kids, you know, so excited about what they were gonna do, talking about how they were gonna, you know, perform, and I was like, well, I wanna be in the talent show.
So was this talent school, was it in school? Or
Yeah, it was in school.
you've been to?
Yeah, absolutely. It was in elementary school and very young, man. So you can imagine, you know, I run home, get off the bus, and I'm running home, and I can't wait to see my mom. I'm like, Mom, there's a talent show at school. I wanna be a part of it. I wanna be in the talent show. And she goes, okay, so what do you want to do? I'm like, well, I really don't have any talent, Mom. And yeah, I remember. I said, well, I remember my mom always kept these two cases under her bed for the longest time, and she break it out every now and then. It was an alto saxophone, right? And I said, well, show me how to play that thing. That thing looks cool, you know. It's shiny, you know. It's big, you know. To me, it was big at the time. It's about my size whenever I was holding it at that time. So she says, okay, so I'll teach you how to play it. What do you want to play? And you know, me being a youngster, you know, the only things I really knew whenever I was growing up at that time, you know, because we were watching VHS tapes, and I was really into Star Wars. And I remember, I think at that time,
Skywalker.
yeah, right. Darth Vader, bro. I'm on the dark side here, so. Now, I remember at that time, I think Pretty Woman had just came out, and that song was being played over and over again on the radio. So really, all I knew was the theme song to Star Wars and Pretty Woman. So that's what I told her. I said, well, I like Pretty Woman, but I really like Star Wars. And I thought at that time, and whenever I was younger, that all the kids knew about Star Wars, and that you'd have to be insane not to know about Star Wars, you know?
There was the bar theme from Star Wars where the musicians played in the bar.
Right. And so, being a young kid, I thought that all kids were into Star Wars. Well, whenever I got to school, nobody knew what Star Wars was. And they did not relate. But make a long story short on that end, she taught me, my mother is a very gifted musician, and I didn't know that until I asked her to teach me.
I don't think any of us knew that On the saxophone?
Yeah, she was
That's amazing.
she was first chair and I think first regional and a lot of things. She was actually very gifted. Still is a very gifted saxophone musician. Shout out to Lydia Gonzalez, my
Yes.
mama. Love you.
So at least now we know exactly where you got these talents from.
Well, it doesn't stop there. But make a long story short, she did teach me how to play the fingerings. I didn't know anything about music or read it or anything like that, but she did teach me the fingerings, and I had to memorize the fingerings for the theme song of Star Wars.
And so, for the listeners out there that do not know what the fingers mean, explain a little bit what that is. So.
Well, basically, the saxophone, the way it's set up is you have these buttons. You blow through it. You have to learn to blow the reed, which she's teaching me all of this at this time. So if you can imagine, we're in the backyard, in my backyard, because it's an open space and we can be as loud as we want. And she's sitting there teaching me, okay, this is how you hold it, mijo, and this is how you blow it. And
I can see it strikes you as emotional there, Rojas.
so yeah, so she's showing me how to play this instrument that's very foreign to me, and I didn't even know anything about it. She shows me each note. I guess she breaks them up into sections, and she teaches me about maybe 4 to 6 notes at a time. This is what you do next. This is what you do next, and I learned that theme song in a amount of 2 weeks time. The whole thing, from beginning to end, by memory, how to play the saxophone. So I was prepared, and she prepared me, and I think that was the confirmation that there was that gift in me.
That was your true beginning.
Right, and I ended up going to that talent show, nervous, walk on stage, my first time on stage in front of hundreds of kids, my whole class, and my knees, I remember my knees were shaking, they were rattling, and you could see this little Mexican kid on stage with this saxophone about the size of him, and he's basically touching the ground. And took a deep breath, and from start to finish, I played it note for note. No messing up, nada.
You did not want to let your mother down.
Oh man, and it was like my aunts were there, like, whenever. For Latinos, when we do something, everybody comes to support. Grandma's there, abuelita. So everybody's there, and I play for the school, and it's the first time, and I got my standing ovation. I actually won that talent show that year. So
that is great.
It
What
was
a good story.
It was incredible.
So okay. We know a little bit about where that journey's beginning. And real quick, everybody keeps hearing a female's voice here. I have Allie Woolley, the manager of Lakeside Pond,
Hi there.
and I have Bill Highsmith, who's everybody's readily heard his name a couple times on the shows.
Hello, how are y'all doing?
Both of y'all, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So anyway, so Rojas, I want to know, and I know everybody else does want to know this. When did you get your first guitar?
All right. So I can't give my mom all the credit, sadly, but she does take a big part of. She plays a big role in what I do, and but my father was knew all the really great music too, and he taught me how to play the guitar on the steering wheel of his truck, and watching him do his thing. Air guitar on to songs like from everything from Robin Trower to Santana to just really great rock bands, Jimi Hendrix, and
So is that where, does all those bands you just mentioned, is that, did they inspire you? I mean, outside your parents?
I think every bit of music that I've heard from being in the womb to where I am now has inspired me to do what I do and to mold my craft and express it in that way. I think that you know, growing up with my father used to take us on rides on back roads, country, you know, hill country, back roads, and just used to live. I was constantly surrounded by music all the time, you know. I think that inspired me, listening to Trios Los Panchos and some flamenco and boleros from Puerto Rico to Mexico to Spain. You know, growing up, it inspired me and it really gave me an itch to want to play the guitar. And I remember discussing with my friends that, you know, I told them, yeah, I'm gonna get a guitar one day. And you know, one Christmas I asked my mom and dad, hey, will y'all buy me a guitar? And they're like, okay, you know, like, don't, you know, they kind of knew why, you know. And but before then, I still continued to play the saxophone until up to that point. I think I was about 11 years old or so.
You know, now Rojas, for every time you've ever been into the shop, I've never heard anything about you playing the saxophone. So, Allie, you've heard it before?
Well, Caleb's been coming into the shop for a long time to get strings and different parts for guitars. And I've seen him pick up a mandolin and play it just like he's been doing it all his life. I've seen him play a ukulele. I've seen him play a saxophone. He's just an extremely talented musician.
Okay, it tells you how closed off I've been just with your guitar playing. I did not know. I mean, I've seen you play the mandolins in the shop, but never ever had the saxophone. Good job.
Well, I am
exclusive right there.
I am a multi-instrumentalist, and I'm pretty versatile in that area. I play everything from sitar to piano, upright bass, you know, the world percussion. I think my forte is Spanish guitar, but when I first asked for that guitar, they did. My oldest brother, Lucio, went out and got me a guitar, and my first guitar is a black and white Fender Stratocaster, and I think it was a Mexican made one, but it was beautiful. The first time I laid eyes on it, didn't know how to play it, you know. I just kind of fiddled around with it and did this, you know, and thought I was the coolest guy on the block. So walk around with it down the street and think I was too cool for school. So, you know, but the funny thing is, you know, it kind of sat there for a little bit until, and here's a really cool part of that, you know, the ukulele, what you were telling me about. I used to be in the bookstore a lot when I was a kid, and one year, I had one year in particular. I walked in and I noticed this ukulele on the wall of that bookstore, and I remember this little Filipino woman used to own it, and I thought it was a guitar because it was bigger than your average size ukulele. It was a baritone guitar, which I didn't. I'll get into here in a bit, but I saw the guitar on the wall and I took interest in it, and she goes, do you want to learn how to play it? And I said, yes, of course, I would love to. She goes, well, you're in here every day anyway, so I might as well teach you. So she ended up having some old music. I remember like some of the first songs that she taught me that I learned was like Unchained Melody and Let It Be, and a couple of other really, really groovy songs. But I learned how to play the guitar first on a ukulele, a baritone ukulele. On a baritone ukulele, which I thought it was a guitar until later on I find out, you know, when you finally learn how to play notes and you do a little bit more research, it's not a guitar. Okay. It's a baritone ukulele. It had 4 strings on it. I thought it was a guitar because it's shaped like one. But I, you know, in a sense, you know, give it credit, it is a form of guitar. So
how old were you the first time that the regular 6-string classical like you have now, that stuck with you, that you knew there was no turning back?
You know, I have been dabbling around with different styles of guitars and different guitars throughout my musical journey, and you know, going from the ukulele and then finding out it wasn't a guitar and I needed to, you know, I went from that to my Stratocaster. Then I got an acoustic that I think my mother got me an acoustic and said, you know, maybe this will be easy for you to learn on. it wasn't as noisy, I guess, to her. And then from there, you know, you start learning and you start hearing different tones, and you start noticing that, you know, some things aren't sounding like what you're used to hearing. You know, I wanted to sound like Ramon Stagnato.
And who's Ramon Stagnato?
He is one of LA's go-to guitarists, session guitarists. I mean, you've heard his guitar playing, you've heard his strings being played on you know, Boyz II Men's albums, Seal. He tours with Andrea Bocelli and Yanni, but he's pretty much the guy that these session artists for LA, when it comes to guitar. He's just got such a huge portfolio that he's just he's a huge influence on me, and his tone is incredible, heavenly, and man, I just, you know, that's kind of what I strive to be,
okay,
as a session artist, as a performer, as a, you know, his licks are just so tasty and fluid and smooth.
So all those guys have probably, you know, brought you to the point that you're at today. So let's talk a little bit about the first song that you're gonna play today.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, and I'm just gonna give you the gist of this song. I was recently in Spain with a few artists from Austin. The festival was Pueblos Blancos Music Festival.
Okay, that was all over Facebook, and people can still find it.
Yes, absolutely. A group of Austin musicians decided to go on tour in Andalusia, which is southern Spain, and from Malaga to I guess it would be like Montahaki, right? We would play this festival that was going down over there in these small villages that, you know, and they call it Pueblos Blancos because in the valley you have these huge surrounding mountains, and then in the depth of that valley you see all these little casitas, right, and they're all white, so it's like Pueblos Blancos,
Yeah.
right? So, and it's incredible when you see it, and we would go and play for the townspeople, and I've actually gotten to play some stages that are very historical and you know, have been there for years, and the stages are just breathtaking, and you know, I couldn't play a better stage, you know, sometimes, you know, when I think about it, because you had stages that were just hung off of a cliff that was like, you know, hundreds of feet down,
Wow.
and you would see the whole valley behind you, and I also have some of that footage on YouTube as well. But that tour that I was on, you know, I was on tour with Joaquin Carrasco, Maf de Tula from Costa Rica. I had some Irish band that was incredible. One of the cellists is seen with me playing one of my songs that I wrote for my daughter's symphony, and that was incredible. You know, and I got to visit Ireland a little bit too, so that was really cool. You know,
Okay.
very inspiring.
So they inspired your first. What's the name of the first song you're gonna play for?
This one right now at the moment is called Andalusia.
Andalusia.
And you know, it inspired me because of the southern culture in Spain is so close to home. You know, when we got there, they served us menudo, you know, our first meal, and I'm a menudo connoisseur, so, you know, everywhere, even in the regions of Texas alone, you know, you get different menudo. So, you know, you get different types of menudo. Everybody eats different types of menudo. They make it differently. So to taste it in Spain was incredible. It was like a white, you know, in color, and you know, that's like kind of southern Mexico. So, and then they have calabacitas, which is, you know, I'm a major comida connoisseur, you know, so I love food, man, and it's very inspiring. I mean, the whole culture is so close to home with my culture and my mother and my father. You know, Rojas is actually from I believe, northern in Castile, in Burgos is where my name originated. It means the red ones, and it could have had something to do with the Moors coming over with the Muslim culture and the Jewish culture. Because I think actually like they were considered like the Spanish Jews, and some of them had red hair. You know, even German influence maybe too as well. So it could have been the land that they lived on, which my name took place, Rojas, or it could have been a feature with facial hair or something like that. But it does mean the red ones. It's out of Burgos in Castile, and it's the culture there just hits so close to home with being a Latino as well in the Spanish culture, and even what I do with the Spanish guitar. So this particular movement that I have was inspired just by the awe of being in that place. And
It's all good, man. I can tell it's very emotional for you.
I always told my mother, I quit school at a very young age, and I pursued music as a full-time career. And I always said, I'm going to be something great for my kids, for my grandkids, because I want them to see their daddy as somebody great. And that's why I do it, because they're so precious to me. And if anything, legacy matters when it comes to my life, But it's not just the legacy for other people, it's the legacy that I'm leaving for my kids and how they see me. And I want them to be proud of me. And I want them to tell their grandkids about what I did. And I want to have that influence on them as well. I want to give them a leg up in something. So for me to be there in Spain at the age of 31, high school dropout, doesn't have an education, doesn't have a GED, doesn't have a college education. I felt more educated in life, and to me, that's why education is so important for my children, for me, and other people's children. I think education is very important. But I just felt like all the work, the hard work that has paid off in striving and working so hard to get to that moment, to be on one of the particular stages in Ronda, Spain, it hit me really hard. I have accomplished many things in my musical career, and I did that, a lot of it on my own, within the last the last 6 years or so, my mother has helped me out with a lot, and I just want to tell her thank you, and I love you, because she helps take care of my kids whenever I have to do a gig, or I have to do an interview, or and she helps me out a lot in that area, because in that way I can work, and I can do for my kids, and I can do for my wife as well. So it's I do this full time. I have 3 little ones: Zion Rojas, Symphony Rojas, and Lyric Rojas, are my babies. And I'm just glad to be so blessed to be able to take care of them in this way, in the way that I can, and use my gift and be able to bless others with it as well. And I think we're just blessing each other, to tell you the truth. Every time I do a gig, I perform somewhere, if I'm in the studio, I'm blessing somebody, and they're blessing me right on back. It's just a full circle of continuance of frequency that is just positive energy, is just going round and round. and you know, I'm just in a good place when it comes to those blessings. You know,
Okay,
and
so-
being blessed by others.
All the blessings, so on your first song today, that's the total makeup of everything that you poured into this song.
Pretty much, yes.
Okay.
I have 2 singles that are coming out. One's called Amor Infinito that I'm actually just recorded with a couple of my mentors, Alex Reese of Del Castillo and Chingon, and one of my guitar guru, Yoda's guys, man, Mark Del Castillo. He's such a beast on the guitar. He's a huge influence on my playing, and you know, they both work with Robert Rodriguez. They just did Alita, I think is the name of the movie, Battle Warrior, and you can see their names on the credits as well as far as the music goes. And you know, we're in collaboration right now with writing some music, and Alex is actually going to be writing lyrics for this song that I'm going to play for you today. So it's not going to be called Andalusia for long. That's just the influence I have on it right now, as far as, you know, why I wrote the music part of it. But
Let's
Yeah.
hear it. Come on.
Andalusia. Rojas.
Thank you.
Rojas, Andalusia. So, you know, Kenneth, that was amazing. You know, it made me feel like I was in a surreal place as I listened to it. I almost wanted to close my eyes and kick back here, you know what I mean? But if I went up or been back here, would have had to grab it and fallen over, because that was nice. Very, very nice. So,
Thank
you know,
sorry, man, I didn't mean to get too emotional there.
No, that's actually, that's what this show's about. We want our listeners out there to see the inside of the musician. Everybody always gets to see all this up on stage and not realizing everything that we have to go through as musicians, to pull off to get on that stage. We are human beings, and it's an amazing thing. So I have to ask, and I know everybody wants to know this, when was your first real gig that you ever played in, that you knew that this was it?
First real gig, well, since I was about 12, I've been performing, with different bands, different projects, and I went into every phase there was when it comes to, I guess, your particular, your average guitar player phase is, if you're a rock musician, you want
And trying to find out, where
yeah, you're
going.
trying to evolve, and I think, when I was a kid, I was really into punk rock and heavy metal, and then, I ended up, branching out and started playing with country bands and, experimenting, to just make a extremely long journey short, you just start, really, taking those influences, and they end up molding you into the musician, the personality, the staple of your characteristic as a guitar player.
Yes.
What it's going to come out to be.
The evolution of who you are.
Yeah,
Okay.
your persona as a guitar, musical persona anyway.
Okay, I think there's a persona. I want to bring this up to you and tell me if you remember it. While I was researching for the show, I came across a video that shows you playing on a roof in downtown Austin. Am I correct?
Yeah,
That was back when your hair was so long that you could have thrown it down and Juliet could have climbed up it.
Yeah, I think it was at 4 feet at that moment. Literally, my hair had always been one of those particular stamps of my musician, being my professionalism as being on stage, who I was, people would always gravitate towards the long hair.
So how did you and your extremely long hair back then get you up on that building top?
Well, I had been, cool story. That was actually, I want to give a shout out to Michelle Hart, who actually introduced me to
Michelle Hart.
Yeah, Michelle Hart. She actually introduced me to Mr. Anders Nelson at the time, was a good friend of hers. Anders Nelson happened to be part of a company that had there's an extreme in guitar world. It's pretty extreme for him to be a part of this project. But True Temperament out of Sweden, he was one of the.
So True Temperament, who's that? Is that a record label out of Sweden?
True Temperament is a patent for a fretting system for the guitars.
Okay, that fretting pattern that you have on your current Rojas guitar. Correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Which is actually made. They made me this guitar, and they customized this one for me. Threw on the True Temperament frets. The True Temperament frets actually, what they do is they correct the intonation of the instrument, and that's a big deal. It's an enhancement as far as guitar. Not a lot of guitar players we really get it, but if you're a constant studio musician, you hear the difference in the studio, and because everything's so enhanced. So basically, to have more of a simpler explanation of what it does is when you create a chord, the guitar, any guitar, that's built, they're not built in a way where the notes are perfectly in tune. You have 6 individual strings, so you have 6 individual notes. When you play those notes together, none of them are really in sync with each other. They're not perfectly in tune. This patent, this True Temperament patent, that corrects that. So whenever I play a chord on this guitar, it's in tune. The notes are in harmony with each other.
Okay.
So,
Okay. So it just brings, it's something that, you know, you've talked about it before.
Yes.
When we shot that video at the shop.
Yes. I'm a clinician and a promoter of True Temperament, and I'm also endorsed by them. So, yeah, not only do I have to, but I kind of want to, because it's a very, you know, it's really cool. It has a lot to do with the evolution of the instrument as well. So,
Okay.
Would you consider that an improved tool
yes.
to help with your instrument?
Yes, and it really is. Like I said, it's an enhancement of the instrument. It's just like putting, you know, new rims on your Lamborghini. You know, if you think of your guitar like that, you know,
Customizing what you're
or a new system in your, you know, it's an enhancement of that. It gives it a little bit more value and a little bit more, you know, it polishes it up a little bit, especially with the tone and the sound, the frequency of it, and just to give you a short, you know, list of the guys who use it are like Joe Satriani and Steve Vai. Also have videos of promoting True Temperament, the same patent, the same luthier that works on their guitars. It's the same luthier that put this guitar in my hands.
Okay, so
ZZ Top, Billy Gibbons. So going back to
Billy Gibbons. ZZ Top.
South by Southwest, man, when I was playing on that rooftop.
I
Shout
remember
out to
you
Billy
playing at
Gibbons.
South by Southwest.
Yeah,
I sure did.
I think shout out to that, man. You know, that was an extreme part of my life. You know, when you talk about what was your first real gig, I have one other than this one, but you know, Michelle introduced me to this man, Anders, man, and said, hey, he wanted to get somebody. I think it was Eric Johnson. He wanted to put one of these guitars. He had a showcase for South by Southwest with True Temperament.
Okay.
He wanted to hire a guitarist to promote these guitars at every showcase. And I'm talking like 5 shows a day throughout South by Southwest. And so Michelle tells him, look, man,
I got this young
he's
kid, Kenneth Rojas.
well, she basically said, look, you know, he's already got a name for himself. He's already, you know, why don't you give somebody a shot that has something that may need that, you know, that has the potential. Give this kid a shot. I know a kid that, you know, at that time I was running the music store here in, shout out to Kelly Cobble. I was helping.
That's where
That's right, Mill State Music, and I was managing that at the time and running it. And you know, we had a studio in there that I would play in, and the kids would come in and they come and play on the guitars, and we all jam out together and be in the studio and hang out. And you know, Michelle calls me up and says, "Hey, you know, I got this this guy that he's got some South by Southwest shows you might be interested in. He's with I don't know if you know what this company is, but it's True Temperament." And when she texted me that, my head just blew because I knew about True Temperament. Yeah, I was all over it. You know, when you're a guitar player, you know what that is.
So by the expression I just saw in your face, I can tell that endorsement right there really put an exclamation mark on your career.
It definitely made my heart jump. And when she said that, I was like, yeah, I'll do the you know, I guess it was more of a audition, because had I not impressed him, Eric Johnson would have been that guitar player to promote. And yeah, so yeah.
Well,
So
I
move over, Eric Johnson.
You told me the story about the fretting on your guitar.
Yeah.
You know, when we shot that video, which is shout out to Lakeside Pond. Because
Yeah, man. Thank y'all
across
so much, because y'all
10,000
help me
views.
every time, man.
10,000 views, and poor Kenneth Rojas had to sit back there because I couldn't stop laughing while we were trying to film. And he had to do
was
this
interesting.
for hours. 2 hours, same song, nonstop. So, okay, so for your second song, Caleb, today, what's the name of the second song that you're going to play?
The second song, I guess it's gonna be, you know, I really didn't think about it. I was just gonna kind of express myself a little bit.
Okay,
For
so
you.
let's express Caleb Rojas.
Okay. Absolutely. Let me get right.
There you go. You
Yeah,
had
a little country feel in there.
Excellent, excellent.
Yeah,
You know, okay, Caleb, that was, Caleb Rojas expressed himself in the original manner there, not necessarily a song. We're gonna take a few minutes and we're gonna get the children up here from Colt Elementary.
Absolutely, bring them on.
Yeah, we can, I'll just cut this out.
Okay.
I need to move, right?
You can stay on this mic and,
Okay. If y'all slide out,
if,
grab that.
pull that mic right there, Billy.
Y'all don't have to move, I'm just gonna swing it over.
Swing that over to one of the kids, and like one of you over here, guys, next to Caleb.
man.
There you go. Or you get yourself comfortable right there. Okay. All right.
Okay, so I got Kate and Luke.
Whenever you're ready.
Okay, so what we have today, I want the listening world out there to know that me and Caleb Rojas go on Tuesdays and Wednesdays to Colt Elementary here in Marble Falls and work with the children on their poetry or poetry in motion through music. So today in studio we have Caden and Luke with their counselor Christina Deloach.
Hi, how are y'all?
Okay, so that's good. So, Christina, let's just real quick, I want the radio land out there. Here in a couple of weeks, we'll be going over to Newman's Kbey Coffee House, correct?
Yes, on March 25th at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. It's actually the last Monday of every month. Numinous Cafe has a open mic for poetry. Anybody's
Okay.
allowed to go. And so we are going to take a group from Colt. They are known as the Colt Hamlets. And
Colt Hamlets.
yes, the Colt Hamlets. And so they are going to go and read some poetry that they've been writing, a lot of which has been helped by the two of y'all. Y'all have kind of been their inspiration in the same way that Caleb's been talking about his inspiration.
I think I can say for me and Caleb, it's been an honor. I was amazed, as I told y'all yesterday when I was there, that all I could do is last time we were in the taping here in the studio, just kept running through the kids through my mind saying, man, this is so cool. I wish I could do it when I was younger. I'm sure Caleb feels
Yes,
the same about it.
absolutely. When I walk into school, the teachers say, man, they've been talking nonstop about their day today, and they're so excited about something. And when we see you walk into school with your guitar, we kind of have an idea of what that something is. So it's a really cool experience to work with these kids, and they're all
Absolutely.
very, very,
Well, Caleb,
very cool kids.
a lot of us are like these kids also. When we see you showing up with guitar, we all get smiles and giddy the whole time. So, okay, so what are those dates again, Christina, real quick?
March 25th at
March
5
25th.
o'clock at Numinous, if y'all want to come and hear the work of these boys. We've got 2 of them with us today. There's actually 8 in the whole group. So hopefully they will all 8 make it and we'll all 8 be reading. And, y'all write your poetry too and come on down and share with us. And
Well, I definitely,
It'll be a
both of
good
us can't
time.
make it. One of us will definitely be there.
Yes,
And,
I'll be there.
We'll bring up some poems. So, Caleb, if I can't make it, you'll have to sit there and read a poem.
Oh, yeah.
Do you want us to put that in
I
the
think
umbrella for you? so you just do some fingertips?
I think I may end up maybe backing them up with a little guitar
Okay.
if it helps.
That would be excellent.
But,
That'd be excellent. I'll be happy to come up there and film that. Okay, so that's good. I'm gonna get back to Caleb Rojas here, but I wanna thank Caden, Luke, I call him Luke Skywalker, and Miss Christina Deloach from Colt Elementary. And once again, thank you for having myself and Caleb Rojas at the school helping with that poetry emotion.
well, and once again, thank you to both of y'all because you take time out of your busy day to contribute to the community, and that's what it's all about.
Absolutely. Work
So
towards
thank
the
you
center.
so much for contributing, to the community and to our kids and to making their dreams come true in the same way that there were people that made your dreams come true. So it's really important. Thank you.
Absolutely paying it
Thank you.
forward, Mr. Deloach. Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
He's gonna edit this part out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Feels like
Excuse me, real quick, sorry.
It's all good, brother. Thank you, Mr. Deluge.
So real quick, when we come back, we're gonna talk to him, and then the 4 of us, because we know Nathan is,
Yeah.
so, there's still a lot of work that was put into society. A lot of us are actually really into it now, so we're gonna talk about it a little bit, okay? but we're not gonna mention his name one
Okay.
time, okay?
Okay. No problem.
So, cause I don't know if it's gonna freak him out for years. Don't mention my name on the radio. And
Yeah,
all of a sudden,
that-
my
that would
house
be
is
a
on
trigger
fire and
thing
getting
for
burning
him,
down,
man.
so. And once again, it has nothing to do with anything, it was just coming, that was a girlfriend there.
Gargoyle breath.
Yeah.
Thank
Dude,
you.
he just-
Thank you.
No, I know. I know.
I
bro.
do, trust
It's all
me.
good.
Billy, you trying to tell Allie something or what?
That's what I told
She
him.
told me something.
She's like,
No,
Y'all still some of them at the wine shop? There we go.
no, but we should carry it.
Yeah.
yeah.
And soap,
And so, yeah,
lots of soap.
lots
I
of
got
body
my
wash.
tidbit stuff, right?
Yeah, you're that too.
Okay, we're gonna fill it with dialogue.
Sounds good.
Go on down.
All right, when
I
you're
think
ready.
you should get another song out of him.
Oh, absolutely.
Out of
Look
me?
back.
There.
Why? Okay.
Feel that. Now, let me get the intro and then we start talking a little bit.
All right, stand by, and when you're ready.
We are back with Kbey Rojas on the Homegrown Hour. Kbey 103.9 FM.
Hey, say that one more time. Caleb. I think you actually called him Kbey.
You did
You
call
did
him.
call me.
Yeah, say call me Caleb.
Kbey
Oh, I
Rojas.
said Caleb. I said,
I heard that
I'm
too.
like, I'll go with it, bro.
I'll go with it,
I'll go with it.
Here we go. All right. Stand by now. Here, hang
Work
on.
with that.
When you're ready.
we're back with the Kbey 103.9 FM Homegrown Hour. Sponsored by Lakeside Pond. Well, Caleb Rojas, we're glad that you're here with us today. And, you know, I think a lot of people out there, let's get props, because I know you have worked with many of the names that are coming on the show, and most importantly, John Arthur Martinez, who was our first guest, and once again, shout out to John Arthur Martinez. Why don't you tell us about some of the shows you've had with him and ones you may have coming up in the future with John Arthur?
Okay. Well, I've had very many shows with John within the last 5 years. We've played, you know, in Colorado and some, you know, in the mountains there. We've done some shows at Green Hall, as well as some historical venues in Hill Country, Texas,
What-
condos.
Any venues around Marble Falls y'all played
Yeah,
at?
absolutely. We've also done some venues here in Mobile Falls as well. We have done, I mean, in Horseshoe Bay we play a lot. I think on the Rocks in Cottonwood Shores.
On the Rocks and Cottonwood Shores.
But you know, as far as you know, the community goes, we try to you know give our services to just about, you know, anybody who wants to, you know, that needs of us, you know. We try to, you know.
I know that for the few benefits that have been around town, I've seen you volunteer your time
Of course.
and your musicianship for the benefits to help anybody.
Yeah. Right. Well, and you know, we have a great rapport and collaboration going down. You know, when it comes to helping the community and with our services as musicians, you know, we try our best to, you know, come out and offer those services to anybody in the community. You know, we work with churches, we work with, you know, homeless, you know, we work with just about anybody, and you know, John Arthur is he's a great musician. He works really hard with trying to help the community as much as he can too, as well as, you know, performing elsewhere.
Oh, absolutely. He's been a definite inspiration, I know, from my standpoint, once again. I didn't know John Arthur Martinez personally until, you know, a couple of years ago. And it was like, wow, you know, I had no clue that the talent that he had. So, do you have any upcoming shows that you may be playing with John?
As of the moment, we have a few private parties that we've done. We just recently did one here at Forno's this past weekend for one of his fans that had a birthday party, and you know, John calls me up and you know, has me come and play guitar for him when I am available. My schedule is kind of booked up, so we have some things in play and on schedule, but you know, mostly we do, you know, either benefits or private parties, things like that. Because I'm kind of that guy that you know, they call the guitar player to come in and do stuff. You know, I'm just
Well,
as far
it's
as
good to be versatile.
right,
You know,
exactly.
that's always what I've always heard about you, Caleb, that you're versatile in everything you do. You know, and that I think that makes you a special type of artist.
Thank
know,
you,
A lot
yeah.
are just singer-songwriters and just play the guitar. Others are drummers. You know, here's Caleb Rojas comes in and plays everything and the saxophone. And
Yeah, you know, I just I play with jazz bands, rock bands, African bands. I love Indian band, world culture, Latin bands. You know, I work with some really great artists right now that are, you know, they're, I mean, pretty close to famous. You know, if not world renowned, and a lot of Grammy award winning musicians. You know, I work with country musicians. I mean, I can play a gig with country musicians, and then the next day I'll be playing, you know, in a jazz gig, and then I'll be playing a Latin gig somewhere, you know. So I have a lot of great friends, a lot of bands that I play with that I have a good relationship with. That, you know, they count on me, I count on them, and we're just in this together, and you know, try to express ourselves the best we can with what we have. So.
you know, one of the things I did notice, you know, we've talked about it quite a bit on the show, the Greater Marble Falls Live Music Society. And one thing I did notice, once you became a member of it, that world society or culture of music that you're telling us that's your favorite, literally, I've seen the influx of those musicians all joining the group. And
Right.
a lot of them are not even from here.
Right.
You know, so you must have made a very heavy impression on the folks out there in Spain when you were there, because we have a couple. You know, and the deal is, you know, I didn't expect you to know that, but I do my best to, you know, recognize the people that bring in the other artists that normally we wouldn't pick up because they're not necessarily right here in our circle here in Marble Falls, Texas. And so, just on that note right there, just wanted everybody to know, Nathan Guitaristas will be taking a sabbatical from the Greater Marble Falls Live Music Society. He's going to be taking a vacation for a while. He has personal things he wants to take care of. And so during that time, I'll be bringing in hopefully a different person each week that'll give me a hand to talk about the Greater Marble Falls Live Music Society. So Caleb, is there a third song you would like to play for us, or you want to do another
Well,
expressionist?
If you don't mind, I'd like to tell you a little bit about that gig with South by Southwest.
Okay, let's talk about that.
I think during that South by Southwest in Anders, he actually, you know, I got apparently I did make an impression during the audition, and I ended up getting the endorsement and the gig. And what that entailed during that whole series of South by Southwest performances was I was promoting these guitars, and I also got to collaborate and play with ZZ Top at Antone's.
Tell us a little bit about playing ZZ Top. I'm a big fan of Billy Gibbons.
You know, I'm a huge fan of Billy Gibbons as well, and one of my first albums that I ever really heard on vinyl was Tejas, and it was one of those albums that I just absolutely fell in love with, and you know, with Billy Gibbons, you know, funny story, I was getting myself a beverage up in VIP and Antone's right after my show.
Would that be a soda pop?
Yeah, that would be
Pepper, Coca-Cola?
hot, some milk. So I, because I'm a good boy, and I felt a tap on my shoulder, and I didn't even turn around. I just kind of held my finger up, like, hey, you know, hold on 1 second, you know, I'm ordering a beverage, I'm ordering some leche, bro. So I turn around, and right there, standing in front of me, is Billy Gibbons, and he saw my performance, and he says, "Would you mind grabbing me some leche?" Yeah, sure. So we took our dos leches, and he says, "I want you to come over here. I want you to sit down and talk to me. I think you're a great guitar player," and I was really impressed.
That must have been amazing.
It was, you know, I didn't know how to act. I held my composure, but I did not speak too much. I just pretty much you know, I gave him his leche, and
Bye-bye Spanish, but that's okay, Rojas.
and we sat down and he handed me a guitar, and I have a picture of that on Facebook of him handing me that guitar.
Is that on your site, Rojas El Guitarista?
You can find me on YouTube. Search me under Rojas El Guitarista on YouTube, and you'll find tons of videos of me playing with all kinds of amazing
Does
artists.
it have a show with you with CC Top and Billy Gibbons?
That's right.
Just people, you know, someone's going to
And
hear this
so-
and want to go and verify that, so.
And also on Facebook, Rojas El Guitarista on Facebook. If you'd like to add me as a friend, become a fan, come to the show. But yeah, Billy Gibbons has me a guitar, and he's a collector of cars and guitars, and he's showing me all this stuff and telling me about how Jimi Hendrix used to come over to his house and jam out with him on his couch, and all these great stories. And it was just an amazing thing to sit with a legend, and not only a legend, but a Texas
absolutely.
legend.
He's a
You know,
total
And a
Texas
good
legend.
person.
a great person.
He is a
And-
good
and,
person.
When you see the videos
John
and all
Graham
that,
is a Billy Gibbons.
yeah.
He's top.
When you see the videos and all that, you think he's a party animal, but he's really very reserved and very well mannered, and he's a cool cat. He's more of a jazz
Everybody's
cat.
got to
isn't he?
maintain their image. Just because he carries that long beard doesn't mean that he's any different from me having a shaved face right now.
And he loves leche, and that's the thing. We're both a big fan of leche. So, and he has me this guitar, and he had just came out with a pack of strings that he created or that he was putting out. And these strings were like extra light strings, so you could bend the E string all the way up to the top of the neck. And it was kind of a weird thing. He was like, "Tell me about these strings. What do you think of them?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm not gonna give you any negative comments, bro. Like, you're Billy Gibbons. What am I gonna do to myself there? You know?"
So, yeah, your streaks suck, Billy.
But he's also endorsed by True Temperament as well, and that's why he was there at the show. He actually also introduced me that day to Jeff Beck. They were doing a show the next day at South by Southwest.
So you got to play with Jeff Beck.
Well, I got to meet Jeff Beck. Billy Gibbons introduced me to him, but I didn't get. He also invited me to the show, but I had other shows with True Temperament going on at the Austin Lyrical Opera. I had a lot of things going on, man, and a lot of great things, and especially to develop that rapport with True Temperament and get on board with them and become endorsed by them is not just every guitar player's kind of dream come true, but my dream come true. To get an endorsement by them is like, oh my gosh, it's amazing because
Okay.
they my Anders Tidell out of Sweden he's the inventor of this thing, and he works. The first time I met him, he was like, "Hey, check this out." He hands me his cell phone. He's like, "You know who that guy is?" And like, it's like John McLaughlin's phone number, and like he has all these legendary guitar players' phone numbers: Steve Vai, Joe Satriani, Jeff Beck, Billy Gibbons. Yeah, I call them up anytime. They call me all the time. We're
Okay.
friends. We have, we
Okay.
drink legend
Well,
together.
Caleb,
So.
I just want to tell you, it's been great having you on the show. We're going to have to wrap it up.
Thank you.
Okay,
for having me.
I want to give a shout out to Allie Woolley.
Thank you for having me.
talking to you. Bill Highsmith, he's been over there sitting real quick. For most of you who don't know, Bill Highsmith is my younger brother. And once again, give a shout out if you're not a member of the Greater Marble Falls Live Music Society. Join now. Don't be alone. We have great, awesome musical cats just like Caleb Rojas sitting in their Facebook handle, Rojas El Guitarista. So we'll see you next week.
1 second. Now, mention Lakeside Pond real quick.
All right.
Can we get mention? Okay.
So whether you're needing that 14, sorry.
That's okay, yeah.
You
Don't
got
forget,
control.
so whether you need that. And
Yeah,
then-
actually, I wasn't gonna say anything about Lakeside Pond
Okay.
because Ed's already got all those. cool-
Gotcha.
Yeah,
All right,
so
sounds
he
good.
doesn't
We're
need
tr-
to.
yeah, we're
Okay.
just trying not to.
The only reason I was gonna tell you, because I think today, because we had so much good material, I think we only get 3 commercials in. Is that okay?
That's fine.
That's
yeah,
fine.
yeah,
Okay,
no
all
problem.
right, good deal. All right, sorry, go ahead.
So
All
I have a
right.
whole lifetime of material.
Okay, so
All
I'm
right.
just gonna play it out.
Okay, my
One of
bad,
the
sorry.
big
want
things,
more.
though, Mel, that I think you should mention, that people don't talk about, having been raised by a singer, people don't talk about the musicians behind the singers, that they wouldn't be where
Yeah,
they're
well, I
at
tell you what.
without the
Yeah,
musicians.
we're just killed on time.
Yeah, well, no, we're okay right here. Say, you know, as we go, Caleb, I just, hearing your story. It's
Well,
great to hear your story.
Okay, I got it. Okay, here we go.
When you're ready.
Okay, Caleb, it's hearing your story, it brings out, or at least it shines the light on what the musician behind the singers are like, and your poignant reminder from your playing earlier that no matter where you're sitting in the musical realm, from a singer, guitar player, drummer, bass player, if you believe in yourself, anything is possible.
That's right.
So join us next week. Okay,
No, he can keep on going. We got time. He
Do
can,
we?
yeah,
Oh,
he
shit.
can talk a little bit and then wrap it up.
there you
You
go.
want to know more?
Give us about a minute or so. Do another minute.
Okay. So, Caleb, is there any other sponsors besides True Temperament that you would like to talk about?
I just really would like to talk about, you say, the singers and it's like that, and the people behind the scenes. Well, it also has a lot to do with the people who you collaborate with.
Absolutely.
I collaborate with tons of artists, and I'm actually on my way to be an artist myself, and have a name for myself, and not just that guy that hires the go-to guitar player, but I'm gonna have some singles coming out here pretty soon, and I'm working on at least 3 albums that I'm gonna release this year as well. Have a lot of lifetime full of material that I'm gonna put out, and I collaborate with Chef Raphael here in Horseshoe Bay. I collaborate with Holly. She's a chocolatier here in Horseshoe Bay. A lot of the venues that I have collaborated with, I just want to give them all shout outs and tell y'all thank y'all for having me for your events, and I am looking forward to doing more and collaborating with you. And I'm here. I'm in the community. At the moment, so use me and abuse me as much as you can. And also a huge shout out to my wife, because without her support, this probably wouldn't even be possible. So
Yeah.
Kbey Rojas, and also shout out to her if you ever want to go to her YouTube channel. She's great with putting together makeup videos, and I do the music for all of her videos as well. So it's Kbey MUA on YouTube. Go subscribe to her as well. So.
Okay, excellent. Next week we have on the show Charlie Weiler. Very amazing country, bluegrass. I'm sorry. Songwriter, yes. I was going to say that. But a very amazing songwriter coming in. So tune into that. And so once again, Kenneth Rojas, thank you for coming to the Kbey 103.9 FM Homegrown Hour, sponsored by Lakeside Pond, with your host, Mel Highsmith.
All right. Say, coming up more, we've got more coming up with Caleb Rojas in the Homegrown Hour.
Coming up, we have more from Caleb Rojas on the Homegrown Hour.
We got more with Caleb Rojas.
Coming up, we have more with Caleb Rojas on the Homegrown Hour.
All right, there we go.
You want me to add in some in there?
Play a little
I'm
bit.
just messing with
No,
you.
play-
Because he'll use it at the beginning
Yeah,
of the
play a
show.
little
If
bit.
you want, I could do a little when he says Caleb Rojas.
No, all you do is do it. He can play something.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. I mean, I was just joking, but
Give him a couple of little riffs he can throw.
Yeah,
Oh,
play
I can-
like
I
a
can give you some-
play like a 30-second riff or something. I can play
I
that
can
in the
definitely
intro.
do that. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll give you 2 different ones. How about that?
That works.
And you can work with them.
There you
All
go.
right.
Do ascending and a descending.
All right, whenever you're ready, Caleb.
Okay.
Okay, and do one a little bit longer, about 30 seconds or
Okay.
so. Awesome, thanks for doing that.
That
was
second
good.
one was probably the best one.
Yeah, that was great. That was great.
No, that's good.
He's amazing. I've
was
seen
awesome.
him. I mean,
All right.
All right.
Man. Thanks, man. Appreciate y'all coming out.
For sure.
Like, oh my God, that's awesome. Sorry for breaking down on that on y'all foot there for a second, but
Dude, that's where the music came from.
man,
The emotion.
just hit me. I don't go back to that time very much, you know. So
The beginning.
thanks, yeah.